The Saints aim to avenge last year's playoff loss in Minnesota. Plus, it's Alabama week for LSU, and Ed Ogeron says the Tigers are ready. Tulane gets back in the win column. The Pels' hot start stalls Saturday, and New Orleans' Regis Prograis is in the semifinals of the World Boxing Super Series. Two defensive plays made the difference tonight. A pick six from P.J. Williams and that forced fumble from P.J. Williams. It turned momentum around in the first half. We will have full highlights and Sean Payton's post-game reaction in a minute. But we'll start with college football's game of the year. I'm Doug Mouton. Welcome to 4th Down on 4. Who do you think wins the LSU-Alabama game? We're actually giving you three choices. Does LSU win, or does Alabama win close, or does Alabama win by 10 plus? Those are the three choices. Vote now on our mobile app or on our website at wwltv.com/vote. Andrew Doak caught up with Coach O this week.
Louisiana's own Ed Ogeron.
LSU head coach Ed Ogeron started his bye week visiting the Greater New Orleans Quarterback Club at Rockin' Bowl Uptown.
Let you know it's a pleasure to be in New Orleans.
Ogeron says the bye week came at a perfect time, naturally because it comes before their strongest opponent. LSU has lost its last 7 meetings with Alabama, but Coach O believes his team is more prepared now than ever.
I think we have a better staff. I know we have a better staff, a cohesive staff. We have analysts that been tremendous, have done a tremendous job for us, that provide us a lot of information. I think we're playing more as a unit, as a team. We have some grit, we have some toughness. Cole Tracy has brought a lot, so has Avery Atkins, so has our punter. Our special teams have been lights out, field position game. This is going to be a great battle, but I do feel like we're equipped and ready to go.
Ogeron has said multiple times this week that he believes Alabama quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is the best player the country has to offer. He has 25 touchdown passes to no interceptions. Many have him as the Heisman frontrunner, and he's leading the nation's #1 offense.
He's a run-pass option guy. I just watched the game against Tennessee. Dave has been studying. I was out recruiting. He's quick with the ball. He's quick with his release. He's smart. It's a run-pass option. They give you. They're going to take what you give you, and he can get the ball to those guys. He can throw the ball deep, can run the football. This is a very dangerous football player. I believe he's the best player in the country right now.
Waddle down the sideline, you can forget about it. Touchdown, Alabama.
Speaking of recruiting, Ogeron actually ran into Tua on the recruiting trail this week, taking in some high school football in Alabama. But before he left, at the quarterback club, Ogeron was asked by a fan what their needs are focused on while they're recruiting. Ogeron responded, quote, "I believe LSU should get the best running back in the country, and he's not far from here. It just so happens that Destrehan running back John Emery decommitted from Georgia this week. ESPN considers him the top running back in the 2019 class. Ogeron couldn't say his name due to NCAA rules, but it's safe to say Emery is who he's referring to." Winning fosters solid recruiting classes, and right now Rivals.com has LSU's 2019 class as the 7th best nationally. And if they beat Alabama, you can bet it will continue to climb.
And Andrew joins us in studio. Look, I think LSU, two big things that we don't quite know how we're going to factor into this game. First is Cole Tracy. He is a weapon on LSU's offense and lets them play a little different when you get into the opposition's territory.
Yeah, and look, Ed Ogeron said that he feels comfortable if you get him to the 33, meaning a 50-yard field goal, that he feels like they have 3 points in their pocket. So you can play the game differently with Cole Tracy. I mean, you wouldn't have won the game against Auburn. You wouldn't have been able to play Mississippi State the way that you did because they felt conservative was okay against the Bulldogs because they, could go down and get 3 points and basically suffocate these guys. This matchup against Alabama, obviously, they have a long history of field goal kickers being a big factor in it. But the one thing that I think people should pay attention to is based on the way that Alabama is scoring, I'll put the number in my mind at 3 field goals. I don't think you want to kick much more than 3 because I think that just means you're leaving points out there, and Alabama's going to be scoring touchdowns. You need touchdowns.
Well, I'll say this, though. 2 years ago, LSU got an interception on Alabama's first possession in Baton Rouge, then missed a 49-yarder. They lost 10-0. You make that field goal in the first quarter, and the entire game plays out differently. LSU will have that this time, but you kind of alluded to it. What is different about Alabama is the way they're scoring points, but this LSU defense, you were talking about Grady Williams, who I saw CBS says he'll be the 4th pick in the NFL draft on one side. Christian Fulton, who was a 5-star guy, playing much better now on the other side. And Grant Delpit, who's the best safety in college football, playing in the back. This is by far the best secondary Alabama will see. How to adjust to them, we don't know yet.
100%. And I mean, look, LSU went into the bye week. Grant Delpit was the leader in interceptions across the entire NCAA with 5. So this is certainly a different secondary. But look, this Alabama offense is scoring 54 points per game. They got the #1 total offense. They got the #1 scoring offense. And you basically shot the best program in college football with a steroid shot by giving them Tua Tagovailoa. You look at the last 11 seasons under Nick Saban. They've never had a scoring offense better than 13th. They're #1 right now. Their average has been 25th. So this offense is just, it's like you gave them a Deshaun Watson or a Vince Young. I mean, it's crazy to watch, but there's no doubt that this LSU defense is the best they've seen so far, and they're going to have to make some adjustments. And if you have to ask anybody in the country to do that, I would feel confident in Dave Aranda.
Yeah, I agree on all your points. We'll be breaking down this thing all week. And Andrew also has the story as Tulane took one step towards its bowl eligibility Saturday.
Tulane football needed a spark, so they decided on a change at quarterback. Former LSU transfer Justin McMillan earned his first collegiate start on the road at Tulsa.
Justin McMillan replacing Jonathan Banks.
Former starter Jonathan Banks was not able to go due to an injury, but Fritz said the move would have happened regardless, and McMillan took advantage. He was far from perfect, but down 10 in the third quarter, Corey Dauphine's 51-yard run put the Wave on the 1-yard line.
Sideline, the cutback at the 10.
2 plays later, McMillan took it himself to get Tulane back within 3.
He's in. Touchdown, Tulane.
On their ensuing drive, Tulane added 3 more from Merrick Glover to tie the game at 17. But this was the play that changed the game. On 4th and 1 at the Tulane 42, Golden Hurricanes quarterback Seth Boomer fumbled the snap, and with 7:52 remaining, Tulane linebacker Marvin Moody recovered. 5 plays later, on 3rd and 1 at the Tulsa 39, every Tulsa player crashed on Corey Dauphine, and Justin McMillan pulled the zone read, and nothing other than the end zone was in front of him. The 39-yard scamper was his second rushing touchdown of the night, and gave the Wave the lead for good.
McMillan is in for the score.
McMillan accounted for 75 of Tulane's 312 rushing yards against Tulsa. And while they still need 3 more wins in their final 4 to make a bowl game, maybe this is the spark they needed. Andrew Doak, 4th Down on 4.
Coming up, the Pelicans won 4 out of their first 5, which is a promising start for Alvin Gentry's bunch. And later, Regis Prograis returns to New Orleans and gets a dominant win in the World Boxing Super Series quarterfinals.
4th Down on 4 is sponsored by the Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Gulf Coast. Forget Vegas. You've got home field advantage.
The eyeball test will tell you the Saints defense got gashed in the first half, but bottom line, they gave up just 20 points. With Drew Brees in charge, the Saints will win a lot when the other team scores 20. And the defense got 4 big sacks and 2 game-changing turnovers. The Saints took the first drive straight down the field. Brees to Alvin Kamara. This one, 8 plays, 81 yards. 7-0 Saints look great, but then the Vikings looked just as good on offense. They were killing the Saints. Kirk Cousins to Stephon Diggs. That's a touchdown. Minnesota tied it. They'd go ahead 13-10, and they were driving at the end of the half. This might have been the game's biggest play. P.J. Williams gets a helmet on the football. Right there, Adam Thielen fumbles. Marshawn Lattimore scoops it up. He's off to the races. It would set up a score for the Saints. That play turned the game around. Alvin Kamara got the touchdown. Saints up 17-13 at halftime instead of being down 2 scores. The Saints added a field goal, and then this. Kirk Cousins pressured into the bad pass. P.J. Williams with the pick 6. The Vikings outgained the Saints, but who cares? The Saints win 30-20. Here's Sean Payton afterwards.
was a good win, obviously, against a good team we got a lot of respect for. Always when you come to an environment like this on a primetime game, it's a tough matchup, but this place is one of the harder places in our league, I think, to play. I thought early on, that momentum quickly jumped in our favor, and they were able to capture it back by going up 14-7. And obviously, the turnover in the second quarter was a big turning point in the game. You call it a 10-point swing, you can call it a 14-point swing based on where they were on the field. That was a big play for us, the fumble recovery, and that led to points. So pleased with the win, man, all of it. We got some turnovers, takeaways. I think we finished +1. We had some significant pressures, a handful of times that really helped. I thought our guys did a good job with the plan. I thought I was pleased with a lot of the things we were able to do to win, especially in the second half. I felt like we possessed the ball when we needed to. It was a good team win. There were a few trap coverages we had up, a few double coverages we had up. Those guys are tough. The receivers are tough, and Kirk does a good job finding them. But we were able to come up with the stops we needed. I thought the 1 3rd down stop right before the turn of the quarter was a big one. And then fortunately, we were able to score a touchdown. I was a little concerned. We settled for a field goal with the 1 turnover offensively, but we did enough to win. We'll get challenged a whole bunch this week, this upcoming week with this Ram team that we're going to be playing. But no, there's some things that I think we've improved in areas we've improved in, and yet some things we still need to work on.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All in all, a great win for the Saints. Now, the Pelicans' red-hot start slowed down a little bit Saturday night still. 4-1 is terrific. Right now, they are 3rd in the West and heading west, as Ricardo LeCompte reports.
It'll be Alfred Payton, a 3. Got it!
After flying past the Rockets and Kings to start the year, the Pelicans proved this week they can grind out wins, too.
We can win the tough games, the ones where we're not making shots, the ones where we're down 10 at halftime or whatever the score is, just the tough ones. And it shows our character, it shows what we're trying to build here.
It wasn't easy for New Orleans. The Pels saw their hot shooting to start the season cool off a bit. New Orleans shot over 50% from the floor in its first 2 games. Over the next 3, 43, 45, and 42%. So the Pels had to win in other ways. Against the Clippers Tuesday night, a 21-4 third-quarter spurt to give them some distance. And big baskets down the stretch from All-Star forward Anthony Davis. He poured in 34. Huge! Friday night versus the Nets. Brooklyn knocked down 3 after 3 to put the Pels in a hole. 19 total threes in the game. But down the stretch, New Orleans got a costly turnover late in the fourth quarter, down by a point. And then followed that with a clutch shot from Drew Holiday with 2 seconds left to steal a victory.
I've been in the league 31 years, and I've never had an ugly win, or I've never had a bad win. Every win is so hard to come by that, when you win it, you go back and you try to learn from it, but, I'm never going to be sad after a win.
They want Gobert, they're going to get Gobert.
The brakes ran out for the Pelicans the following night against the Jazz. Anthony Davis, a spectator, out with an elbow injury that isn't considered to be serious. Rudy Gobert took advantage of AD not patrolling the paint. 25 points, 14 boards, 4 blocks. Utah sprinted to a 36-18 second quarter, the lowest point total in a quarter this season for the Pels, on its way to handing New Orleans its first setback of the season.
We've got to get better. We're going to play a bunch of quality teams on this road trip. And so we've got to learn to execute, and we've got to learn to not go away from what the game plan is. And then if it doesn't work, then we can say we have to make an adjustment as a coaching staff. We've just got to get better at making good decisions in our offense from the standpoint of ball movement, shot selection.
Lessons the Pels will need to master in this 5-game road swing coming up against some of the best in the West. The wins won't come easy, but the Pels have at least shown early they can capture the hard ones.
Still ahead, New Orleans native Regis Prograis boxed his way to a quarterfinal win in the World Boxing Super Series at the UNO Lakefront Arena. And Prograis may be back home for the semifinals, too. That story when we come back. Regis Prograis was dominant Saturday night in the Nat Kiefer Lakefront Arena. He won his World Boxing Super Series quarterfinal fight, and the semifinal early next year could be coming back to New Orleans. In his 22 professional fights before Saturday night, Regis Prograis had never had a fight like this one. He had never gone more than 8 rounds in a fight. But former world champion Terry Flanagan was tough, and this one went the distance.
I mean, I feel amazing, really. That's my 23rd fight, and it's like the most fun I ever had in the ring.
The scores from the 3 judges were not close, and the highlight came in the 8th round. Prograis hit Flanagan with an overhand left. It was the first time Flanagan had ever gone down in 35 pro fights.
I opened them up, I kept jabbing. I was killing with the jabs all night, and I opened them up and I seen it. And but it was actually hard to get it because I hit him a few times with that same overhand left hand, but I hit him on top of the head. So I was hurting my hand and stuff like that over and over again. So I really had to wait, and that one, like, it was perfect because it caught it right on the jaw.
For the first 5 rounds, Prograis boxed with Flanagan, and he certainly appeared to be winning, but not dominating. He then stepped up the pressure in the 6th and got the crowd involved.
I went to my crowd, went to see my people and all that. I told them stand up and all that type of stuff because, like, I was having fun. I was out there really enjoying myself, like having fun.
And with the crowd into it, Prograis dominated the last 6 rounds. He was never hurt, never in trouble in the fight, and he was clearly the better boxer.
I'm glad, I went 12 rounds. Flanagan was real tough. That was 8 rounds. I dropped him in the 8th round. He was hurt, but I didn't want to go in rush and nothing like that. I just wanted to go out there. Like I said, I went out there and I had fun tonight.
I thought he fought the perfect fight. He fought smart. He boxed. Honestly, I gave maybe Flanagan 1 round. I don't know how they had it, but I thought Regis just put on a clinic the first 6 rounds. And then when we saw Flanagan starting to flatten out, we started taking it to him.
They had a great plan and perfect execution. New Orleans' own Regis Prograis dominated and beat a former world champion. He now moves into the semifinals to face the guy in yellow. That's Kirill Relik of Belarus. He's the WBA super lightweight champion, and Regis Prograis is not worried.
I'm just looking forward to it, and I just don't think nobody's gonna beat me. Like, I can do so many different things. So now, what can somebody prepare for? Like, what can they do to prepare for me? You can't do nothing. Like, who you gonna spar with, Manny Pacquiao? You can't prepare for me. Or Errol Spence or something like that. Like, you cannot prepare for me. I can do so many different things in the ring.
And it's possible he'll then fight Ivan Baranchyk of Belarus in the finals. Baranchyk also fought at UNO. He's on the other side of the bracket. He was dominating in his quarterfinal win over Sweden's Anthony Yigit. And it's very possible one or both of those fights would be back in New Orleans.
We had a great atmosphere in there. It's been a great fight week in New Orleans.
I love it, and hopefully we bring it back, right? We might bring it back. We might.
On the undercard of the Regis fight, 3 local boxers scored huge wins. That's Jonathan Guidry of Duloc in the red, white, and blue. Guidry pounded Little Rock's Quincy Parker for a first-round knockout to stay unbeaten in 14 pro fights.
And now look at Jonathan Montrell go on the offensive.
Also winning Saturday night, New Orleanian Jonathan Montrell. They call him John Boy, and he was terrific, beating Houston's Anthony Waddle in a 4-round unanimous decision. It was Montrell's 2nd pro fight. He is now 2-0. And New Orleans' own Jeremy Hill ran his pro record to 5-0. Hill won all 4 rounds on every judge's scorecard for a unanimous decision victory over Mamou's Brandon Arvey. It was a great night for Regis Prograis, but also a big night for Hill, Montrell, and Guidry. We're back with more 4th Down on 4 in a minute. Drew Brees only threw for 120 yards, and the Saints scored 30 and won by 2 scores on the road because the defense got 2 huge turnovers. P.J. Williams' pick 6 gave the Saints breathing room. New Orleans is 6-1 with the Rams coming to the Superdome Sunday. The day before that, college football's game of the year, Alabama at LSU, and 64% of our voting audience thinks Alabama will win. Most think it'll be a close game. Of course, our Eye on the Tigers pregame show starts at 6, LSU Alabama at 7, then we'll have a postgame show afterwards. For producer Danny Rockwell, photographer Adam Ney, Ricardo, Andrew, and all of us here at Eyewitness Sports, I'm Doug Mouton. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week on 4th Down on 4.
Fourth Down on 4 has been sponsored by the Sportsbook at Hollywood Casino Gulf Coast. Forget Vegas, you've got home field advantage.